Okay, I wanted to talk about the kind of privileges there are out there, and how you kind of have to think that there are privileges that you have and it's not always about girls. There are a lot of privileges you have. Some people have, some people don't. I want to list them and just to review them. One of them is that's really underrated is family privilege. I mean, if you grew up with a dad and a mom and you don't have any chip on your shoulder about um, your dad not being there or your mom being, I don't know, like a lazy or drug addicted or something like that, or your they were split apart, or maybe you didn't have parents, you had to get adopted and you don't like those parents, or your parents were bad people, um, or your family life, drunk, or dad is a drunk, your uncle took care of you, or he molested you, like just inside family life. If you know, I mean, that's one of the reasons why Connor Murphy, I mean, God, even though he was banging, slaying, or whatever, etc., but his inside family life was from what I could tell, was horrible, and that affects your happiness, and that chip carries on your shoulder um, for the rest of your life until you resolve it in some way. Um, so if you have that, I mean, a mom, a dad, a normal family, then that's actually a very it's you'd be surprised how underrated that is in modern American society, especially if you're an ethnic and you're like, oh, my ethnic, it sucks, but you'd be surprised how in modern American society it's getting rare to have a nice stable family life, especially in the lower half of the income pool. But count your blessings on that if you do. Um, Another one is social privilege. Now I know this can be exercised, but there are some people that, I mean, the majority, the 70% around of people are extroverted, and society is mostly built for extroverts. That's just the way society mostly run. I mean, yes, we know of the introvert leaders, CEOs, like all, but that's like a small portion of introverts that have been able to hone and do the minimum in regards to their communicating skills, meanwhile being very calculated inside. For the most part, everyone's mostly extroverts. The world, yeah. And it's not even just about that. Some people are just the privilege. There are some people that just can socialize with anyone. They walk into a room and then they walk into a room of strangers. It's actually kind of fascinating. They walk into a room of strangers. I have a friend like this, and he'll go into a room of strangers, and he'll walk out with like knowing someone and laughing with someone and making maybe even a friend or getting a phone number in the friend way of someone new. Just put them anywhere, any weird, comfortable situation, and they just walk out like laughing and made a new friend. And I get jealous because these guys, or girls especially, girls are better at this than guys. Guys are more like autistic than girls when it comes to this stuff, but they're just in general, there are some people that just can walk anywhere, any weird situation, and walk out with a social connection, and that's actually it's almost like a privilege. One, it's talent, and one, if they hone that skill, that talent to even a greater amount, I mean, yeah, they can schmooze people all day, and yeah, you get jealous because I mean, you're not saying much, and people don't respect you as much. But or you might just get less connections, and that can they can actually make a business off that a lot of times if you have enough connections. So it's something to get a little jealous about too. Another one is mager, or let's just take terms out, but just like height privilege. I think I'll combine height and frame, but for the most part, height and some frame privilege. So for your physical presence. This is mostly to men. You don't have to act hard. You don't have to act ultra assertive. You don't have to. You're allowed as a big guy, or as a tall guy, you're allowed to act even a little a little a little awkward, a little goofy, and no one judges you that bad for it. No one forgets you. You're still that big guy. Um, as long as you act gentlemanly and you say the minimum, and that's all you really need, and then you're equal to a short guy having to flail his arms a little bit. Now, I'm not saying a short guy should flail his arms, but you don't have to put as much effort as shorter men to have a presence, to have a voice, and to be deemed to get respect. Um, you can go in situations where you're just face to face with a man. It's a little confrontational, and you're not too afraid of anything will happen just because of your weight you have on you, which is it's a big deal in even martial arts. There's weight classes and all that. So, not saying you can go be hard on everyone because eventually someone's gonna know how to fight and around your height is gonna knock you out. But for the most part, most people don't train. Most people, don't lift and all that. So it's a one stress component that's taken out from the equation. That's really nice, if you're tall, and if you're short, if you have some weight on you, that also kind of adds into it too. But for the most part, it's most height is something that people look up to. You literally look up to when you look into their eyes. So it takes you back from when you're a child and a parent. So it's a huge privilege. I mean, damn. Another one is wealth privilege. Wealth privilege is kind of brutal too. It's not that. It is for the most part kind of brutal because wealth privilege. I mean, it depends on on how much I guess you get from your parents, or if you're gonna inherit a home. If you're, I mean, it kind of does mean a lot actually. Or if you and your dad works at a company, he can get you an internship when you're in eighth grade. I mean, that's how these things work. They have internships when you're like in fifth grade almost. I'm just exaggerating, but they get it very early because of their parents and uncles being at great companies that a lot of us don't even have anything close to. Um, they can borrow if the business goes out horribly. They can borrow, I don't know, 50, 30K from an uncle. These things that you don't hear about. A lot of times when I look at these success stories, wealth success stories, there is a little backing they have at the initial parts of their business or anything like that. Look up Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates. A lot of these guys have some sort of backing. Now, I'm not saying they're filthy rich at the start, because if you're filthy rich at the start, it's really hard to build from that. You need to have some sort of um, um, wall. You have to persevere through something. You can't have life too good to build something great. Um, there has to be a study phase, a nerd phase, all that. I talked about it in another video in my one of my earlier videos. But a lot of people getting to building something really great, a lot of time they get backing or just mentorship. Mentorship is extremely important, and the best mentor out there in the end of the day is your dad or a close one that is in a good economical standing, and just overall happiness in general. You can have a surgery because of a big chin. Um, when you're young, you can have braces. I mean, wealth is a lot, especially these days with decay recovery. Wealth is meaning much is it's meaning less at the same time, but at the same time it's meaning more. It's meaning less when it comes to dating, but I think in happiness it's meaning more. I think you can definitely become, if you work hard and maybe you're still incel, you can definitely still become a FANG engineer making 300K and all that. But obviously your face has. No, I'm not gonna get into that, but you can. It's a great privilege to have if you have wealth, um, and it's debatable whether it's good, whether it's compared to before, it's better, but at the same time, it kind of means less. But for the most part, your life happiness, no, it means a lot. It means a lot. Medical insurance, just yeah. Now, what's another one? I think I went through all the ones I can think of. I still think there's race privilege. If you're white, um, you don't need to niche. How do you say that word, niche? You don't need to go into like different sectors of the population to find where you're attractive. I mean, you're kind of the medium for everyone. You're like the background, like this background. You don't have to you don't have to geomax too much unless you're like a weird looking, very funky looking, or very short guy. For the most part, you're just a medium. I mean, a lot of us, ethnics or Hispanics or black, we have to make sure we're in one lane. We have to make sure we can make in a lane, and unless if you're a 9 out of 10, you can do anywhere. But for us 6 and 7s and 5s, we have to make sure we're at the right location, wearing the right style. If you're white, you don't have to worry about this stuff. You know, if you're a different race, you have to, especially in the West, you have to act maybe more masculine, or maybe act less masculine, maybe act more educated, based off your race. Um, if you're white, you can be awkward. You can be awkward. You can't really afford to be that. I did this in my second video. You can't really afford to be that awkward if you're black or Hispanic. But if you're white, you can be an awkward guy, and you would get a ethnic girlfriend. So it's there's a race pill. It's getting people are trying to disprove the race pill, saying, "Oh, but Chad can be any race." Well, no. I mean, Chad can be any race. Nine out of tens can go anywhere. They can shop anywhere. But us eights, I mean, us sevens, sixes, fives, for the most part, which is a much greater bulk of the population, race still matters. Race still matters. Race fetishes will help us ascend, or help us descend, help us not look good in one location, one market. So race still matters for the most of us. For yes, 9 out of 10s they can shop anywhere, they can go anywhere. But we're not. You know, that's how I disprove these JBW deniers. Now I do think it's getting less pronounced in the future as U.S. becomes more mixed race, but we're still not there. I look at the demographics of many decent cities around, and they're still majority white. Um, but yes, I do see that as the future, like in probably the next maybe like 30 years, 30, 40 years. But as of now, no. Um, okay. Now, what other stuff? IQ privilege. I mean, IQ privilege is also real. I mean, I didn't work when I was young. I would math kind of just came to me. My mom was really good at math, and she was actually very good at math in her city, in her town, small town, and she was teaching the class. She took over the teacher, for goodness sakes, to teach math in eighth grade high school. And my dad said he married her for her high. One part of it was her high IQ, her high analytical IQ, and that went to me instead of my other sibling. And I mean, there's nothing I can do. I mean, that just math just came to me. Yes, I was working at it with my mom when I was younger and trying to understand algebra, but after it would click to me much quicker. So yeah, analytical IQ is it can work against you, but it's really good for getting a job and getting to a good school and getting high grades. I was lazy, but I would always do well in math. Um, my verbal IQ is not the greatest, but I'll end the video here.